that's a lot. Finishing top 10 13 times.
He had 115 points.
Only having a couple 110 points.
Was it 110?
110.
Okay, sorry. Ricardo was 115.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about Ricardo. Got Ricardo on the brain.
Daniel Ricci.
I have Ricardo on the brain sometimes too when I go to sleep at night. Yeah, for him finishing, 13 top 10 finishes.
Hashtag me so horny for Ricardo.
Man.
Another shout out to
Big
Carter
Denny
Corp.
Rick
That
guy.
was so funny.
That was a good comment too.
Me so horny for the Formula 1 season. Oh my god, that kid.
Fuck, where was I with Pierre Gasly?
Sorry, you were. I actually asked about Yuki.
Oh yeah, you did. Sorry, I was doing my rundown.
Yeah,
of
you're just talking about Pierre.
I'm just riffing with Pierre.
Pierre did come off of a great season last year.
Yeah,
as we were just talking about. But Yuki even, he even said it himself. He's kind of like, I don't know why this team kept me here. He's like, I cost them so much money.
Yeah, he didn't have the
32
greatest
points.
He didn't have the greatest season, and
he finished 4th though at Abu Dhabi.
I read. Yeah, he did. Last race of the season. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone was kind of being reslotted
Yeah.
towards the end of that race anyways. But I remember first race of the season last year in Bahrain, he was in the top 10 for a while. He finished P9 for the race in his first ever race for F1. He didn't see any more points until Azerbaijan a few races later. And then he just kind of disappeared for a little bit. His next highest placing was Hungary. And that was the 10th race of the season. He finished P6, and then just ghost town, up until up until US, and then up until Abu Dhabi. So he only scored points in, 6 races this year, whereas Pierre got 13 top 10 finishes. So for Yuki's, for his first ever year in F1, it wasn't the season that he wanted. It wasn't the season that anyone expected for him.
It wasn't the season that Honda wanted either.
No. And him being, Japanese.
Well, maybe it was with Verstappen, but having your Japanese driver driving for a team that's ran by Honda.
Yeah. A lot of expectation, a lot of pressure for him. He's only 20 years old, too. Or 21. He was 21 years old last year when he was racing.
That's incredible.
So
He's
young
my
kid.
size, too. Short guy.
Yeah,
Hey, Short Kings. Shout out.
Short King, stand up. I think this year will obviously just be better. I think your trajectory from having a shitty season last year can only be forward, only be upward.
Yeah.
So I think he'll do a lot better this season. Again, it's just another season in the team, another season in F1 because he was a rookie last year. I read something saying that he only drove an F1 car twice leading up to last year.
Are you serious?
Before he got into, because he was F2 driver and everything, but these guys still get opportunities to drive F1 cars, whether they're just doing testing for the team or whatever it is. He's only driven a car twice until testing last year in Barcelona. So for him to make that leap from F2 to F1, faster, bigger cars, more competitive, I think he did all that he could, basically. He didn't really have that many DNFs either this season. He only had 4 or 5. 4?
Yeah,
only 4
those
DNFs.
were all wrecks.
Yeah,
Mexico, I remember he just destroyed his car.
Oh, yeah, that was a nasty one. But again, he's a rookie, and you don't really see many rookies come in and make a huge statement like Lando did, or what are you gonna say right now? What are you laughing at?
Nothing. I'm not saying anything.
He's fine at.
Nothing.
I don't know. I think he'll do good this year. I think the AlphaTauri team will probably finish in a similar place to what they did last year. 5th, 6th, battling it out with Alpine. Aston Martin probably more competitive this year.
Oh,
I'm sure we'll touch on that with you.
with Mike Crack.
Or with me. Who has Aston Martin?
I do.
Yeah, you got Aston Martin. We'll jump to them right now.
Yeah, Mike Crack.
Mike Crack, new team principal, taking over for Otmar, who's been there for years and years.
Yeah, Safnauer, the boy. He.
So what's going to happen with Aston Martin and Vettel and Stroll?
What do I think is going to happen with Vettel? Well, Vettel finished behind Verstappen in preseason testing this year. So clearly the car is going to have somewhat pace. I know you can't go off of lap times in preseason testing. Some guys might be, pushing the car 90%. Some guys might be pushing the car 60%. You don't really know. That's the whole point of testing, right?
You don't want to show all your cards at once, especially in testing.
Exactly. Like they were saying, Mercedes saying, "Oh, we're pretty much done all the development of our car." But really, Mercedes also said that Ferrari is several months ahead of schedule in development. I don't know. But maybe they cut funds to their car at the end of the season last year, and they just decided to put money towards the new 2022 project.
Would make sense.
Yeah, for sure. That's what Haas did. Zero development. But anyway, yeah, Stroll this year, I don't know. Hopefully he has a better season. He's clearly shown in the past that he's capable of producing some good results when he was racing for BWT, Racing Dot. The first
Racing
season?
Point.
Racing Point, sorry.
They did have a giant target as one of their logos. Like
yeah,
a
so
dot.
it's dot. It just looks like a dot.
It's
Sounds better, Racing Dot.
Doesn't off the tongue.
Racing Dot.
Racing Point.
It's Racing Point. So yeah, he did have some good results when he was racing for Racing Point. Obviously, his dad has a really big say in what happens with the team, being the team owner and everything. But yeah, overall, I think Aston Martin's going to be hopefully finish better than they did last year. They're not going to have the same team principal, so they're going to have to get under Mike Crack's orders and everything, and maybe he will fill a better position than Otmar did, because Otmar was with Force India, with Racing Point, and then Aston Martin last year. So maybe getting in a new principal, maybe moving some people around in the garage might influence better results. But last year, Aston Martin, they didn't do the best. They finished, they were 7th. And I'm not going to lie, I expected them probably to be up in 5, competing for 4th place.
I did too. Yeah.
So they have obviously a new facility coming in 2022. I guess their wind tunnel is going to be ready to use, and their factory should be ready in early 2023. So I say they have a pretty good fighting chance this year. Vettel, I think it's going to be a better season for him. He looks rough. He actually looks like our cousin Everett.
Yeah, he does.
And it's hilarious. Every time I see him talk and I see him when he's driving, takes his helmet off, I'm like, oh my God, Everett's on the TV. It's hilarious. But yeah, so I think they have a 5-year plan. It started last year when Stroll just kind of took over everything. And I think they're going to be a team to watch for in the next 2 years. I don't know if this year is going to be their year, but I think coming off of last season, it might be hard to do worse.
Good point. That 5-year plan, though, can't involve Vettel all 5 years.
No, it can't, which is why they have to see. I think this year is going to be a big determining year for Vettel, because they're going to be like, oh, we signed you for these 2 years. You're a 4-time world champion. You're not producing results. And at the same time, people are going to take pride in their car. They're not going to be like, oh, it's not the car's fault. Like, you're just washed up. You're a washed up old man.
I think in their point too, or in their case, bringing Vettel on when they did with Aston Martin becoming a new team, or bringing back the brand of Aston Martin, they probably want his experience level too.
Yeah.
Like, tell us what you took from Ferrari. Tell us what you learned from Red Bull in all those years. Like, you're obviously like one of the most seasoned guys on the track. You, Lewis, Fernando, world champions. Maybe be more of a mentor to Stroll, because all of Stroll's earlier teammates have been like younger people. It was Esteban Ocon at Racing Point. Williams, it was Bottas in like 2017 before he went to the Mercedes jump. So they were like younger drivers. Now you got, a 34, 35-year-old Vettel in there with Lance Stroll.
Exactly. You have a face to your Aston Martin team. So Racing Point and Force India, they didn't really have a face. They had Sergio Perez, who obviously is a fantastic driver, but he's never won a world championship. And he's had, I don't know how many race wins, maybe 11 race wins?
One.
Only one?
Well, up until last year.
Are you serious? He's only had 2 race wins his entire career?
I think he won more than 2 last year.
No, he won 1 in Azerbaijan. That's it. He only won 1.
Before that, he won the last race of the season in Bahrain.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so there's 2 right there. But at the same time, Racing Point hasn't had a big face to their team. Force India didn't have a big face to their team. Now when Aston Martin comes in and they sign Vettel, it's like, oh, Aston Martin. Then they see, even on social media or in the news, you see Vettel. He's got the Aston Martin uniform on. So I think it kind of helps them sort of not advertise their team, but just show like, okay, this team's meaning business. Because you and me both had pretty big expectations for that team last year.
Yeah. With
Seb being there, like, okay, this is going to be like a competitive car. And it actually was. It was pretty competitive at the beginning of the season, but once development kicked off with Red Bull and Mercedes and Ferrari and McLaren, it was just so hard to compete with them. They're so much faster.
Yeah, everyone else just kind of took off, and they just kind of stayed where they were.
And I think partially that has to do with their new facility and their 5-year plan.
With Vettel coming in, though, like the point you just said about him becoming the face and trying to give like them a team branding or a team like meaning. That's kind of like how we see sometimes with like North American teams or sports, where you bring in like bring the veteran guy to kind of push the team over the edge, or it's like a train like deadline day for hockey or something. It's like, oh, Joe Thornton is on the block. Let's bring him in for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And
or
like,
just the Leafs signing Jason Spezza.
Yeah, something like that.
Let's
Like
bring in like
a
an
glue guy
Yeah.
who's been around the block, been there before. Yeah, he's aging. He might not be as competitive and as, like eager to win all the time, which I think Vettel still is for sure. Or else he would have hung him up after Ferrari.
For sure.
He still has drive. And he still has passion to race and to win, but he has slowed down. It's obvious. But I think he's also there just more as, like you said, a face. He's there to help with development. He's there to help with team morale. He's there to put himself into the team, which he did at Ferrari. Like, he was Ferrari, red through and through.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out for him because Mercedes just took over the sport. But I think, him at Aston Martin, it's a good fit. He wants to be there. Again, he could have hung him up 2 seasons ago after Ferrari, after that terrible season that he had. Yeah. Maybe he didn't want to finish on a low. He wants to retire on a high. Is that going to be at Aston Martin? We'll see.
I hope so. I really do. But you got to also think, like, he's coming off of, like, 4-time world championship with Red Bull and then going to Ferrari. You know what I mean? So
never winning
at Ferrari. He's racing for top two teams, which is kind of different for him. He's kind of out of his element. You know what I mean? He's coming to a team where he doesn't really know what to expect, and he's got to be the face of it. And that could be kind of demoralizing to him maybe, or it could also be an opportunity for him to shine and have like a new fresh start.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Frederick Vasseur is me.
Frederick.
Alfa Romeo.
How are you, Frederick?
I'm doing okay. I've been here for a while with Alfa Romeo and Sauber.
For a while.
We haven't done too much.
You look like the most angriest man.
He looks like a pissed off dude.
He looks so mad all the time.
He isn't me. He just looks like a pissed off guy.
Yeah.
Alfa Romeo. I mean, this is probably the most. You just mentioned fresh start with Vettel at Aston Martin last year. This is the most fresh start you can get.
Yeah.
With 2 brand new drivers. Obviously, Bottas getting in there from Mercedes.
Yeah, had a horrible year last year, ending Kimi Räikkönen's career on a 13-point season.
Yeah, Bottas needs no introduction to like who he is, what he's done over the last 4 or 5 years, being the second man to Hamilton.
Guan Yu Zhu.
Zhao? Zhu?
I think it's Zhu.
I think it's Zhou.
Zhou?
I think it's Zhou.
Still can't figure this out.
Guan Yu Zhou. We'll have to.
We'll do some playing.
We'll plead ignorant right now. Yeah. We'll have to see him say his name.
I just learned how to say Snafnauer. Safnauer. There.
Sapphire. Salamander. Well, he'll have different names throughout the year.
Salamander.
Oh my gosh, Salamander.
I am Outmar Safnander.
Sounds like having a stroke.
Oh my god.
But yeah, with Alfa Romeo, I mean, being the sister team to Ferrari,
there's really not much to talk about.
It's not much to talk about them. They're gonna probably finish, 8th, 9th constructors.
Yeah, getting down to these teams.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if you saw Williams climb into the top 5, 6.
Yeah, we can kind of blast through these last 4.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, Valtteri, new start. That's a big thing for him because it's like he has an opportunity to be a number 1 driver at this team. And Alfa, that's a fast car. Like they do have pace, but the problem is
it is.
It's just not competitive.
They're just not getting the max funding. Like them obviously being like a sister team of Ferrari, they're going to have some budget from Ferrari, but they're not getting all the resources pumped into them like Ferrari would be.
Yeah, Ferrari's going to give all the resources to Ferrari. They don't give a shit about Alfa Romeo.
Exactly. I mean, they obviously rake in money and they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
But with Bottas being there, kind of the same vibe that with Vettel is with Aston Martin, he's going to bring in what he knows from Mercedes, clearly. He's going to have a lot of experience to talk about Mercedes and what they've done. Bring that to the car. Zhou coming off, FP2, or sorry, F2. I keep wanting to say FP2.
I know. Dude, you know what the hardest part is sometimes
F2.
for me? Is when I'm just like 2nd place, 3rd place. It's P2, P3.
Yeah.
We're not British.
I know.
I was actually
we gotta learn the lingo.
I was listening to podcasts. I think we're the only North American accent podcast in the entire world.
Could be.
I'm serious. Like I can't find anyone that has a Canadian Windsor kind of has a distinct accent. We're pretty American.
Because it's American, yeah.
But
we're literally the armpit of Canada.
Yeah, we're disgusting.
Or the
we,
butthole.
We stink. And our gas prices are way
Did you
too
know
high.
that Stephen Colbert said that Windsor's the butthole of Canada?
Kind of is.
You know Colbert, like the late
Stephen
night
Colbert.
guy?
Yeah.
He like when
He's the guy that was on Love Guru. Remember the movie Love Guru?
Yeah.
He was the announcer.
Unfortunately.
He was on Quaaludes.
Unfortunately, I remember that.
It's hilarious.
When he had his old show, like his like daily show, not his nighttime show.
Yeah.
He was talking about Windsor for some reason. This is like 10 years ago. Talking about Windsor.
What?
He's like literally Windsor's like the butthole of Canada.
I love Windsor though. I do love Windsor. I love living here. It's a great
man.
time. It's awesome.
We're the dirty South.
Yeah, like I don't plan on moving out of Windsor ever. I'm a lifer, I'd say.
Ugh.
Unfortunately, I would love to move to beautiful British Columbia with Sebastian Vettel. I mean Everett Vossen.
Hey.
Shout out. It's a bloodbath. But but anyway, get back to the drawing board. Sorry, Windsor's the armpit of Canada. But yeah, the P1 P2 thing. It's hard for me to kind of adjust to it.
We'll learn on the fly.
Yeah, we'll get her. Guys, don't worry. We're not going to be this bad forever.
Alfa Romeo, bottom 3, bottom 2.
Yeah. Don't expect much there, Frederick.
Maybe more. I don't know. Probably less points than last year. What did they finish with last year on points?
They had 13.
Ouch. Actually, it's tougher to get less than that.
Yeah, how do you get less than 13 points?
We'll call it maybe the same. I mean, out of those 13 points, Kimi got 10, Giovinazzi got 3. Kimi obviously retiring from the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Giovinazzi being the second or the third driver, for Ferrari. So it's kind of like an upgrade for him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Having the chance to maybe drive for Ferrari this year if something happens to Leclerc or Sainz.
Mm-hmm.
And Zhou, we'll see. He's kind of got his own fresh start in F1. We'll see how he performs, what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, being a Chinese driver, with the China market being as big as it is, kind of the same thing with what Tsunoda was to Japan. It's just going to be huge. The Chinese market is obviously massive. Yeah. They are witnesses and involved.
Oh, no, it's definitely huge for the Chinese culture.
Yeah, like they're witnesses and involved in so many sports throughout the world. They love basketball. They love hockey. They love soccer, obviously, too. Yeah. F1 is another thing that they can get into.
For sure.
And Zhou, being a Chinese driver, going to get Chinese endorsements, sponsorships, branding. It's going to be nuts. So that being said, Alfa Romeo could have a lot more money this year for spending. Mm-hmm. We'll have to see. We weren't able to touch on their car, their livery, last episode because they didn't release it yet until after we recorded.
Yeah, that's true.
Beautiful car.
It is beautiful.
I
do like it.
Sexy
dude, it's like
beast.
It's got like that nice like cursive kind of like gangster graffiti vibe to it.
It's like a calligraphy. Like
I love the
script.
clover on there too.
It's a nice little touch, eh?
It is nice, yeah.
Just like like the color concept, like that burgundy red, like it
it's
just
not
looks
quite Ferrari red. It's just
nice.
A little off. It's like an off-white, but for red.
It looks nice.
Yeah, it is a nice car. Speaking of horrible liveries, Alpine.
Ouch.
Oh, I am Ottmar Safnauer.
Yeah.
Probably the most dry person in the room talking. I actually dry throat, but no, he does sound like he's kind of like.
What are you getting at with that?
He is kind of like just a dry tone. Like
I
am Ottmar Safnauer.
He's very big.
I am the team principal for Alpine.
That's not a bad
Racing.
Ottmar.
I know.
That's not bad.
That's exactly how he sounds.
You just sound like a
My
robot.
dad and I were watching it. My dad, he's listening to this guy talk. He looks at me, he goes, "This guy seems fun." It was one of the funniest
life
things
of the party. This guy.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Obviously, this is his first year at Alpine, not his first year as a team principal, coming off of, Racing Point and Aston Martin and Force India. Still just can't get away from the BWT horrible livery, though.
Yeah.
Jesus. But I think what he's getting thrown into right now with Alpine is obviously they got that L plan thing, so there's huge expectations from Alpine right now. You got Fernando Alonso hinting about L plan, like they're going to be a contender for the title this year, and then you look at them in the preseason testing, their car catches fire in the third day.
Yeah,
and they have to end it early.
Yeah,
it's like a hydraulic issue or something like that. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, massive expectations, but the execution is going to be the hardest part for Alpine this year.
For his case, it's almost like he got an upgrade by leaving Aston Martin.
He did.
I mean, then finishing in P7,
but I think
the Constructors and going to P5 Alpine. I mean, that's not a bad software to be in. Better car, maybe. Who knows if the funding is more or less? We don't know.
Yeah.
But Alpine being the ex-Renault, they have that experience of Renault in their blood too, so he can work with them, work with the team. Again, him leaving a car like Aston Martin with Vettel and going to another car with Fernando Alonso, it's almost like a like for like swap with drivers and just who they are. So that's great for him.
Yeah, and also Renault is the only team that uses Renault engines this year.
Yep.
And even last year. So it's going to be kind of nice. He can have a say in what engine development prior to the season. Like he's not gonna have to rely on getting third party parts and third party engine components. He's can put his engineering knowledge towards kind of how they're gonna go with their engine development, their aerodynamics, their chassis.
I think they're giving him more team control than what he's had in the past. Like him being at Force India and Racing Point and then Aston Martin, he was there for long enough time where his presence was not like it was known. His presence was known in the team. Like he was there. He established like kind of who they were over those three teams. But now getting the Alpine car, he's the guy. Like he was brought there for a reason.
Yeah. Right.
Him leaving Aston Martin. I don't know the details if it was like a good breakup or not. I'm not totally sure. But for him to go to Alpine, like a competitive car in like the standings as well. It's not like he's jumping to a Mercedes where like now like
Alpine
they're not even close to Aston Martin
last year.
Exactly, finished fifth, and it's not like he's going down to Haas where there's a huge disconnect. He's going to be battling every game or every race with Aston Martin. It's going to be his team versus Aston Martin team, his team versus AlphaTauri, his team versus I don't know, maybe the Williams gets in there too. We don't know.
Even looking at last year's standings, like McLaren was the fourth team that finished fourth, and Alpine finished fifth. McLaren had 275 points. Alpine had 155.
Yeah, still a disconnect.
It's a massive difference between the top four and then the bottom five on the grid. So hopefully Otmar can make some changes at Alpine, and be great to see them fighting for like a top four, going back into the top four, maybe even top three. But like I said before, big expectations, but it's going to be a tough execution for that team to spring forward this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might as well just finish it off with Williams, with Jos Capito. I think that Williams has a big asset in Alex Albon, because last year he was doing all the sim testing for the 2022 car, and he probably has more experience on the sim. I'm not saying that that's the same as driving the car, but at least he understands a little bit more the 2022 car, so that him going into Williams, it's not going to be such a big adjustment for him. And for the team, that's huge, because getting rid of George Russell, right, your number one driver, you're kind of going into another spot where you're not necessarily getting a new driver. You're still getting a driver that has F1 experience, raced for Red Bull for two seasons, and then was the third driver for Red Bull last year. Like I said, he was on the sim all last year too for the 2022 car, so he kind of has sort of a deeper knowledge than Latifi does on the car, or than any of the other drivers have on the car. So I think Albon's going to play a huge role in Williams. Maybe even get them in front of Aston Martin this year. Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know. Depends on the funding again. Depends if Williams is going to get any money, and it depends if they're going to put it in the right places. You don't know.
It's a really good point. Do you think him or Latifi will have a better season?
I think Albon will.
Think so?
Latifi hasn't really had any good seasons.
No.
I mean, but he was racing next to George Russell for majority of them, right? I think 2 seasons he was racing there, Latifi? One season?
Last year's
No, I think last year was the second year. So he raced with George for 2 years, right? So
right.
Tough to compete with the pace of George Russell. But like I said, I don't know. I think he's going to come in, and he's going to be hungry too, because he was with the Red Bull team last year through that whole exhilarating season, and it might just put a fire under his ass to just kind of put his head down. And I'm not saying he was a bad driver. He was a great driver for Red Bull. It's tough to compete with a driver like Max Verstappen at Red Bull. Every single Red Bull teammate ever since he came in, even Daniel Ricciardo, who was a veteran at the time, was tough to compete with Max. He's just got different pace. He has a different type of driving style. He's aggressive. He's unorthodox. It's not something that you see in the drivers now, everyone wants to be safe and everything. Max is just like, I'm going to go for the gap. I'm going to go for the corner. I'm not saying I know everything about racing, but I'm just saying you can see the difference clearly when you have other Red Bull drivers that go into the car and they're finishing like P7, P6. Even Perez, like we didn't really have that many top 4s, top 3s this year, but like Max just managed to get the full advantage of the car all the time.
Yeah, even a blind man can see that Max is above and beyond.
Yeah, he's
as a driver.
Incredible. Awesome.
With Albon too, it's almost like he has like a chip on his shoulder too from like how he finished his F1 career 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
With his obviously big jump from Toro Rosso to Red Bull mid-season.
Yeah. Which I think was premature.
I think it was too,
I don't think
they were a little trigger happy.
They were pretty trigger happy getting rid of Gasly.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
So having that half season under his belt and the full season, which did not go at all as planned.
No.
He's going to come back, like you said, with a bit more fire, a little more vengeance. He wants to prove himself.
On the car.
Because him going to the Williams car, like them finishing, 8th place last year, mostly because of what George Russell was able to do with finishing P2 in Belgium with qualifying second and then just getting the second place,
for sure.
Trophy handed to him over the cancellation of the race. Mm-hmm. That's the big reason why Williams was, P8 in constructors. I think Albon has more to prove where he still wants to be in a top 5, top 4 car. Albon might want to jump in there with Lando in McLaren and try and prove himself. I mean, he's been part of the Red Bull regime for a long time.
Yeah, he has the tools.
But I think he still wants to show like he can still hang. He wants to like be with the big boys.
I mean, you can't be worse than Haas though, right? Mr. Gunther Steiner.
Oh, poor bastard. I mean, he's in
you, Gene.
He's in F1 purgatory because it's like he can't.
I know. He's stuck.
I don't know what to do with him.
I don't know. I don't think he knows what to do with himself.
He's one of the most comical guys of Drive to Survive.
The best part is
more
he
animated
knows
guys.
He knows that the team's shit, and he'll talk to the other team principals about it.
Yeah.
He'll just say in one of the episodes,
like we're bad.
Yeah, we're shit. He's like, we're definitely not gonna be able to keep up with you this race.
Yeah.
So you have the win.
It's like they have like, I'm not gonna say Gene Haas is one of the worst owners, but like they have some of the least funding from ownership.
Let's just say Gene Haas is doing this probably just to save some money on taxes. He's just putting his money elsewhere.
Probably.
And he's doing this for fun.
Yeah.
It's not like he's completely invested in Formula One.
No, I mean he's got his name on the car, which is obviously awesome.
It's big for Haas.
Like, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be cool.
Super cool.
But with Steiner, it's like you have arguably some of maybe like the worst drivers. Like Schumacher showed some prowess last year. Like he was always finishing above Mazepin in most of the races.
Yeah.
Mazepin was either spinning out of control in qualifying, spinning out of control on the track,
or just DNFing,
on his own merit.
Yeah. We already talked about that.
Yeah. He was holding up cars like, they're waving the blue flags for Mazepin. He's just like getting in the way of other drivers.
It was in
not
Texas.
knowing.
In Texas.
Yeah.
It was the final. It was the second last lap. Max is fighting Lewis. Lewis is like 0.5 seconds for Max, and Max is trying to get in. He's on the radio. He's like, could someone get this Haas car out of the way? Talk to Michael, please.
Yeah.
And then Mazepin is just driving like, oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah. On a stroll.
It's like, buddy, there's a huge race going on behind you. I know you got lapped 4 times.
Oh, let's
figure it out.
So that's just kind of how the teams run, though.
Yeah,
like that translates. That trickles all the way down to like the guy changing the tire, which they've had problems with before. They had the worst pit crew probably in F1, all the way up to the top with Gene Haas and ownership. Everyone in between is accountable. Everyone in between has made mistakes on this team. They're not a professional team. They're kind of the joke of the F1 right now. And it's sad because, again, we don't want to, talk shit on Gene Haas and his name, but the way that the team has been run over the last couple of seasons, it's been a joke of a team.
Yeah, like let's not forget, they finished 5th in the Constructors in 2018. Where did that go?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
What happened? Anyway.
It just shows like what a few years can do in the sport, right?
I guess. Development-wise, maybe they just got in at the right time, and other teams were just like, this is not even close to what we have in the bag, and they're like, this is our max.
That's unfortunate because you obviously want to see.
Well, I'd love to see a North American team do well, especially being living in North America, but
yeah,
it's just embarrassing kind of at this point.
Just with everything else going on right now, and like the latest news breaking with Russia, and then
it's just putting the
it's
fucking
only, like,
nail in the coffin.
Yeah, of course it's going to be this team. It's not Mercedes at the Tide of Russia. It's the Haas team at the Tide of Russia.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of, the karma or like the way it breaks for Haas and their team.
For sure. Well, I think that's it. I think we've covered
that's probably it. Yeah.
Everything on the itinerary that we have.
Yeah, we hit everything.
Next week we had a little technical problem.
Yeah, you guys will see midway
you guys
through.
will see that there's something that happened, but we're gonna get it all figured out for you. We're gonna give you the best viewing experience you can get.
Next week, next Friday, Drive to Survive. We'll be recording probably on the day that drops.
Yep.
So we'll have a few episodes under our belt that we've seen,
and we'll give a review on the first few. Yeah. Once again, guys, just go to our YouTube channel, Bruzin F1. Like and subscribe. We really appreciate, again, all the support that we've had. You guys are awesome. And obviously we're kind of reaching out to a diamond in the rough crowd. It's a growing sport still in North America. And I think that the more and more that people get into it, it's going to grow bigger and bigger. Maybe we'll get some Grand Prix in BC, or we'll get some close to home. Maybe in Detroit. Detroit had a Grand Prix one year. Could you imagine Detroit?
Like a street track?
Yeah, it was downtown.
That'd be sweet.
That'd be unreal. But anyway, yeah, guys, just once again, like I said, we appreciate it. And that fantasy, F1 fantasy that we're going to do, if you guys are interested, drop a DM in the Bruzin F1 Instagram or Twitter, or email us at bruzinf1@gmail.com. And Andrew or I will send you the code. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we really appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers.